Welcome to my speech on why you should care about the topic of video games. Now, video games are a massive genre, and regardless of whether or not you yourself play them, someone around you is directly affected by video games. They play them on a regular basis. It might be you, your kids, their neighbors, their friends. Someone plays video games. Video games themselves are an industry that is almost twice the size of Hollywood. Right now, they're $50 billion larger than the Hollywood box office. And just like Hollywood movies, we should be demanding the highest quality from our movies and video games. You don't want to go to the theaters and see a B-list movie that was promised to be an A-list hit. And it's the same with video games. You don't want to pay $60 for a game that has no content, doesn't have any relatable characters, and isn't all around fun to play. But recently, in the last decade, we've seen a major shift in the video games sphere and market. We've seen developers that have been pushing games that are half finished, games that are still in a beta state that aren't done. Basically, some good examples to push are the launch of the Bethesda title in 2017, Fallout 76. When Fallout 76 launched, it was a disaster. It had a day one patch of the game of 50 gigabytes. That was 1/3 the total size of the game was just the day one update with patches and fixes. When the game launched, it had no content, no quests. All it had was an online multiplayer mode that was hindered by poor servers. You would sign into the game. Some people put 600 to 700 hours into that game, and since the quality of the servers were so low, they would sign in, and the game would switch their information with somebody else's. Your level 70 character is now replaced with a level 8 character, and there's nothing you can do about it. And this is very important, because this has not just happened in Fallout, but Fallout is probably my best example that I can give you. Because not only did the game launch disastrously, it kept getting worse. There was a $300 version of the game called the Power Armor Edition. It was $300. It came with a plastic helmet, some army toys, a canvas bag. Now this canvas bag was never delivered. And instead of compensating the players with the bag and saying, we're going to make it for you, they offered them $5 of in-game currency to spend at their shop to incentivize them to buy more of their online tokens to spend with them. And it was a really scummy business practice. And it's something that's been going on for a while. But all hope's not lost. This has been going on since about 2012. The microtransactions were mostly big in video games, mobile games. But recently they found their way in the AAA games. In 2016, when Call of Duty Advanced Warfare came out, that game, front line and center, had microtransactions that were game-breaking. You could buy weapons in the game that massively outperformed what was in the game base. And the whole reason was to get you to spend hundreds of dollars of extra money to get these weapons. And the drop rates were so low, so they could just keep raking in money. But all hope is not lost. Recently, one of the most recent games that came out that incorporated these microtransactions was Star Wars Battlefront 2, a 2017 title made by DICE and Electronic Arts. Now, the reason why this is so important is because DICE has not officially reported how much they spent on this game, but they did report that they made a day one loss. And they sold 9 million copies day one. That's $60 a copy. That means they had to have spent more than $540 million on this game. And they made a day one loss. It's almost $500 million they would have had to have spent to have a day one loss. And they didn't make a profit until 2020. Now, how did this happen? Because when the game came out, it had, if you know anything about Star Wars, you know that Star Wars' main characters, Han Solo, Luke, and Leia, and Darth Vader, they're all playable characters in the game. And the way the game works is you would play the game as a regular foot soldier, and you would earn points throughout the game to play as Darth Vader, Princess Leia, or Han Solo, or even more playable characters throughout the movie series in the game. And what would happen is that they were charging $15,000 to play as like Darth Vader. Now Darth Vader has 850 health points. An average foot soldier has 150. Now Darth Vader could heal, and Darth Vader could keep his 150 health points, and he's really hard to kill. Now 15,000 points, your average game, if you were doing pretty well, you could only make about 10,000. But what they were doing is they were selling 80% off. For $2 or $3, you could buy an 80% off those points in game. So it's now at like 2,000 or 3,000 points instead of 15,000. So people would spawn in, they'd get some points, they would spawn as Darth Vader. There's no one else that could afford it because they were forking out cash for it. And they would play as Darth Vader, and they would stomp and steamroll, and because they were paying they were paying money, they were getting special privileges. Now, the game, they had to remove that because, again, they didn't make a profit because people were outraged and they wanted them to remove the feature from the game. And they did, and it was seen as the first major victory for games players in the industry. DICE eventually turned a profit, but not until 2020 when they finally hit the black. And this is what we should be expecting from the games industry. We should be expecting the industry to cater to us and not to them. And this is why I believe it's important. Because in the future, we don't want this to get worse. We don't want the problem to develop. We want to stop it now. We want to nip it in the butt because we want the highest quality to come out of our video games. We don't want the industry to bully us into accepting their scummy business practices. And in conclusion, that's all I have for you today. I want you to demand the highest quality product out of your entertainment media, and I want you to go out there, and I don't want you to pay for something that is going to take advantage of you.